All right, moving into that sacred space of a Jingle Bell Jamboree here. All right, well, it's December, and December is a special time of year of connection with family, with care, with community, just coming together in this. Even if we're not feeling all joyful, because not everybody feels all joyful all the time, but this is a space of safety. This is a space created out of love. This is love. So welcome to this loving community. This December at Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center, we're capturing the spirit of the season. And we've been doing it all month in a variety of ways. So before we move forward today, I want to take us back for a moment to last Sunday, and it was all about peace. No coincidences. I love when Spirit takes over. Just got to get out of the way. That's the trick. So Spirit has organized this service with every song, with every reading, with every prayer. And last Sunday, I want to check to see how many of you, well, I'm not going to check to see who's here. Fucking back in Catholic school. No, I just want to review real quickly. I gave handouts and everything. I did. I gave handouts. You practice your homework all week, every day. So let me do it real quick. It was being peace on Sunday. We started every day of the week, and it was a practice. And if you were here last Sunday, you know that in service, that one we covered it. We did a whole thing about it. But the rest of the week. Monday was about thinking peace. Tuesday was about feeling peace. Wednesday was about speaking peace. Thursday was about acting peace. Friday was creating peace. And Saturday was sharing peace. Sharing the peace with anyone we come in contact with. I gave you the little handouts. You could print them up and just give them to other people. It is wonderful. I love St. Francis, my confirmation name, because I love St. Francis of Assisi. So make me an instrument of thy peace. You can't get any more powerful for an affirmation than that. So since we are back to Sunday again, let's take a moment to be peace. But this time, not just within, but with each other. So we had 4 concepts that we were to contemplate last week. It was peace, harmony, laughter, and love. Peace, harmony, laughter, and love. So I'd like you to, and I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do it. Turn to somebody next to you, and if you don't know them, just say your name and simply say, I offer you peace, harmony, laughter, love. I offer you peace, harmony, laughter, love. And now turn around and find one other person. I offer you peace, harmony, laughter, love. All right, okay. Come on back.
Harmony, laughter, and love.
So good, so good. This is capturing a connection with community and care, and that's what we just did. We made a connection with people. And today is about capturing the spirit of Christ. That's what it's about. And Ernest Holmes, in his Science of Mind textbook, has a whole chapter on the Christ consciousness. And we spoke about it in the first service of this month, of December. And today we're going to talk about the idea of Christ consciousness, which is a term, we just love to use that in New Thought, because it's everything. It's the divinity within. It's that light within. It's that God spark that's waiting to be ignited by our awareness. That's what the Christ consciousness is. So it's very important. And we're celebrating it every day. But today, because it's Christmas, you know, we have that whole Christmas thing. So, I said that before. Pretty cool. Christmas, we're celebrating the light within each and every person, everywhere. So how do we capture and incorporate this Christ consciousness into our lives? So as we move into this week of Christmas, tomorrow's Christmas, today, Christmas. Today, we take a look. But first, I have a brief Bible quiz. Based on, Rita has a Bible, so that's no cheating. You know these.
It's not open book?
This is based on two Gospels that deal with the birth of Jesus. That would be Matthew and Luke, okay? And answer the following questions, please. All right. What did Mary ride on when she entered Bethlehem? How many wise men were there?
3.
How did the star compare to the brightness of the other stars? Brighter. Who else besides the wise men saw the star? And that had to have been the easiest pop to it. The truth is, my friend, the gospel did not say any of this. It's not in either gospel, and it's not in any other one. Not one bit, not one iota. So when we read Luke chapter 2, verse 1 to 20, and Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 to 23, we learn this. What did Mary ride on in the road to Bethlehem? Mary and Joseph went to Bethlehem. Neither gospel says how she got there. How soon after they reached Bethlehem was Jesus born? Scriptures say that Mary was with child, and that it came to pass while they were there that her days to be delivered were fulfilled, and she gave birth to her first son. And that doesn't even suggest it was the night that they arrived. There's nowhere that says this. The third, how many wise men were there? Matthew does not tell us. And how many there were, and doesn't talk about them at all. And so traditionally, they settled on 3, probably because there were 3 oils. So they probably agreed to that. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's the only thing that I could kind of come up with. It's not mentioned anywhere. How did the star compare to the brightness of the other stars? There's no mention. No mention of the nature of the star. Matthew merely said that the star went before the wise men and rested over the birthplace. Now, who else besides the wise men saw the star? The star is not mentioned in connection with the shepherds. As we just heard through the reading, an angel told them. They were told by an angel. So there's a lot of myths around Christmas, a lot of myths, and there's a lot of myths in the whole tradition of it anyway. And if Dale Allen Hoffman were here, he would just wipe this whole talk right out, because he don't even believe in it. So, but for the sake of celebrating Christmas today and tomorrow, and whenever you like, I suggest we celebrate it every day. In our New Thought teachings, we believe that another myth is that Jesus is the great exception. That's what we were brought up, those of us who were brought up in Christian tradition, that the great exception. But in New Thought, we call him our master teacher and the great example, a way for us to be, a way for us to show up in the world. On page 363 of the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes writes this: in studying the life and teachings of Jesus, the most unique character of history, we discover a few simple ideas underlying his philosophy, the embodiment of which enabled him to become the Christ. And the Christ, as we've said before, means the anointed one. There were many Christs in that tradition in those days, someone that was anointed. So I anoint you all. Christ consciousness, each and every one of us. Yes, we are all, each one, a bright, shiny, radiant, sparkly beam of light. Every single, and that's the truth, because that's the essence that we came in with, and that's the essence that we leave with. It is who we really are. On page 363 of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, in studying the life and teachings of Jesus, did we read that? Yeah. Well, anyway, the embodiment, I'll do it again. Okay. In studying the life and teachings of Jesus, the most unique character, we discover a few simple underlying ideas of his philosophy, the embodiment of which enabled him to become the Christ. And we look at these three. We have three to go over today, really quickly but beautifully, because they're so important. These ideas that the master teacher showed us, that when we embody them, we can truly become the Christ consciousness. We can connect with it, and when we connect with that indwelling light, it feels so great. It feels right, it feels uplifting, it feels perfectly perfect. So the first one is, kingdom of God is within. Okay? That line first appears at Luke, chapter 17, verse 20 through 21. The circumstances were that the Pharisees were hassling Jesus and trying to trip him up with trick questions. And they were trying to catch him in inconsistencies and to make him sound like a blasphemer. So it is told in Luke that some of the Pharisees asked Jesus when the kingdom of God would come, and he answered them by saying, the kingdom of God does not, this is good, the kingdom of God does not come by observation. Neither will they, behold, it is here, or behold, it is there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. That's to remember. The kingdom of God is within you. Jesus kept saying it. There it is. That's Christ consciousness right there. The kingdom of God is within you. That's Christ consciousness. One Sunday, the youth church teacher just taught her class this story, and a few minutes later, to test their retention, she asked her class if anyone could tell her where God lives. One little boy quickly raised his hand and said, I know. The teacher asked, well, where does God live? The little boy said, he lives in my bathroom. The teacher was very perplexed and said, what do you mean he lives in your bathroom? The little boy said, yeah, he lives in my bathroom. Every morning my dad goes to that bathroom door and pounds on it and says, good Lord, are you still in there? Actually, the good Lord, the kingdom of God, lives in you. That's it. There is something in you greater and grander than you can ever imagine. You can't even express it. It is so beautiful. It is pure, unconditional love beyond all human understanding. And it's an evolutionary urge for greater expression of something that has been planted in you. We always want to be more, to become more, to express more. That more thing is your Christ consciousness, is your divine essence. Jesus knew this. And according to Holmes, who writes this, Jesus located God and the kingdom of heaven within himself. He located God in his own soul. So complete was this realization that he was unable to find a place where the being of Jesus began and the being of God left off, or where the being of God began and Jesus ceased to be. This Jesus discovered and taught that whatever is true of us, of the reality of our nature, is the divine presence within us. This is the only truth that we ever have to know about any situation, any circumstance, anything whatsoever that goes on in this human experience, is that the presence of the divine is the truth of who we are. That's what we teach here. That is our empowering, because you are empowered when you know you have all you could ever want. It is within you. When you truly know that, then you are empowered. So let's capture the spirit of Christ by no longer looking outside of us for God, going within, going deep within our very souls. So say with me, or say after me, the kingdom of God lives here.
The kingdom of God lives here.
Where does God live? The kingdom of God lives here. That's right. And then we move into the second teaching by this master teacher. Done unto us as we believe. We'll repeat the whole thing. We'll be here all day, though. Yes, it's true. And then he tells us over and over and over again in different circumstances, slightly different languaging, but the same thing. And this is the second idea on which our entire New Thought spirituality is based. It rests on this. And we read an experience in Matthew chapter 8, verse 5 to 13. During Jesus' ministry, he entered the kingdom of Capernaum, and a centurion approached him. For those of you who don't know, a centurion was a commander of the Roman soldiers. So the centurion's son was ill, and he had already heard of the reputation of Jesus, approached him, and told him of his son's plight. And Jesus said, I will come to your home immediately. But the centurion told Jesus that he did not feel worthy of having Jesus come to his home, and said that if Jesus would just speak his word, then his son would be healed. At that, Jesus looked around at his disciples and the others around him and said, truly I say unto you, not even in Israel have I found such faith as this. And then he said to the centurion, go, let it be done to you according to your belief. According to your belief. How strong is our faith? Do we just practice the words, or do we actually use it and believe it? Cause and effect. Cause and effect. The boy was healed at that moment. Go and let it be done to you according to your belief. Then in Matthew chapter 9, we learn that a woman who had a blood disease for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his garment. I will be healed. Jesus turned and saw her and said, have courage, my daughter. Your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you. And the woman was healed in that very hour. Therefore, this is also in Mark. This is in Mark. Therefore, I tell you, anything you pray for and ask and believe that you will receive it, it will be done for you. That is cause and effect, right there. Our faith is the cause. The effect is the outcome. And as you might have heard, just look around in your life if you want to see where your faith is. Look on your calendar and in your checkbook if you want to see where your energy and faith is going. Because that faith can create any effect that we want in our lives if we but believe it is done. Even if it doesn't look it, believe it anyway. Because the law is always working, the law of cause and effect. And what we do with it depends always upon us. Do you believe that? And if you believe that, Jesus taught over and over and over. That is what you need to do. Act as if it already is present. It will manifest. That's the way the law works, but according to our faith. And then we move into the third teaching. These things and more you shall do. At John chapter 14, it is written, truly, truly, I say unto you, he who believes in me shall do the works which I do, and even greater than these things he shall do. This is what Jesus taught. Of these things you can do too. In The Science of Mind, Holmes wrote again, Jesus understood his own nature, which is his oneness with God. He knew that as a human embodies the divine, it manifests the Christ nature. Jesus never thought of himself as different from others. It's very important. He was a New Thought teacher. He was teaching the stuff that we're learning today. So it's all one. We're all connected. It's beautiful. It really is. It's all love. When you take the fear out of it, it's all love. The only thing that separates us from anyone is fear. Nothing else. Nothing else. So when we move into that place of love, we're in the oneness, in the Christ consciousness. I skipped right over Holmes, but that was important for us to hear. But this is important too. A priest, a rabbi, and a New Thought minister decided to go on a fishing trip together. They went down to their local lake and rented a boat and went on the lake for a day of fishing. As the afternoon approached, the trio got hungry and realized that they had left their lunches on the shore of the lake. They left them there. So the priest got out of the boat, walked across the lake, got his lunch, walked back, sat down, beginning to eat his lunch. You should have gotten our lunches, scolded the New Thought minister. So she got up and walked across the lake, picked up her lunch as well as the rabbi's, walked back across the lake, sat down, and handed the rabbi his lunch. The rabbi at this point is almost out of his mind. His eyes are wide open in shock. Finally, he manages to sputter out, What did you just do? What just happened? The priest grinned at the New Thought minister and nudging her and whispered, "Do you think we should tell him about the rocks?" To which the New Thought minister raised an eyebrow and said, "What rocks?" It's done unto you as you do. So, in concluding, this is how we capture the Spirit of Christ. 1, by realizing that the kingdom of God is within. Number 1. Number 2, knowing it is done unto us as we believe. And number 3, by accepting what Jesus did and know that we can do it also. We too are capable of all things. Infinite potentiality. We are capable of limitless demonstrations and manifestations in our life. And so from A Day to Remember, it's a compilation of some of Ernest Holmes' writings that I want to conclude this with. He wrote this. It's beautiful. But just take a breath, breathe this all in. We must realize that each of us, at the center of our own being, does meet the living Spirit. What we celebrate at Christmas time is not just the birth of a traditional figure, not just the birth of the greatest man who ever graced the world with his presence, but the birth into human consciousness, into each one of us, of something transcendent and immediate and effective and available. The divine presence revealing itself to us directly, personally and intimately. What we have to do to discover that, what Jesus found, is hidden within every person. An utmost simplicity and a deep sincerity. For back of the false front of all of us, the little child, a child born of the kingdom of God. The discovery of this child within is the greatest discovery of our life. The search after him is the greatest adventure of our life. This is the meaning of the Christ, the divine incarnation within everyone. And so at this point right now, I want to close this with a short prayer.